Hello everybody and welcome back to LMM. And if you're enjoying what you're seeing on the channel at the moment, how about giving this video a like and maybe subscribing to the channel to help us grow and perhaps even check out our Patreon. Today, I'm back at my home railway of the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway. Yes, that's right, the home of my first Ruston 48, number 294266 of 1951, Sir William McAlpine. And today, I'm here for a very important reason and something that's very familiar for lots of us volunteers. Today, I'm up for my driver reassessment on this thing. This, many of you will recognise as the very first locomotive ever to be on a Lawrie Ghost loco. This is the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway's Ruston 165, which goes by the name of Alston after the railway's president, and it runs as the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway's number 5. This one is the significantly bigger brother to my own 48, and being a 165 is because at max power, if it was the diesel electric, that's how many horsepowers it would create. This one's vaguely special because it's got a Gardner engine in it rather than the standard Ruston unit, so we have no idea actually what it will do. But it's a nice old lump, and since you've last seen it, it's been repainted and is looking rather smart. I am both a steam and diesel driver here at the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway, and in order to reach this grade I had to have a significant amount of training and then have an assessment and pass an exam to be passed out as a driver. However, that driving entitlement only lasts for a set number of years. Here at the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway it's 3 years, and at the end of that you need to be reassessed. We call it a periodic reassessment. The idea behind it is to make sure that you still know what you're doing. You can still drive it safely and correctly, you still can do all of the prep correctly, and it shows that any changes that have been made throughout the years to that locomotive or throughout that period you're up to speed with, and if you're not, you can be corrected. The idea is to prove that the drivers of the train, as the one who is most responsible for the well-being of the locomotive, the crew and the public, is completely up to speed with everything and can operate in a safe and controlled way. If I don't do my reassessment, I will no longer be able to be rostered and drive this thing here at the railway. So, what's going to happen is that the assessor is going to join me in a bit, and under his instruction we'll go through the prep, some of the theory behind this, and I will get a shiny new thing. This is something that happens at every railway in the UK. The interval period could be longer or it could be less, but we all get regular reassessments to make sure that we're still safe to operate. And the most depressing thing about all of this is right now it's really sunny, but there's a massive great cloud coming over there. And I think I'm going to get really wet doing this. I was indeed correct. By the time the assessor turned up, the heavens had opened. The first thing we ran through was some of the things that had changed with the locomotive, most notably a brand new pump for the air brakes. And after that, we walked around as I pointed out and explained key parts of the locomotive, including parts of the engine, the transmission and the rest of the drive, and answered questions about how to maintain, how to look at and how things actually worked. And this involves getting right inside and being able to point out specific items when asked what they are, what they do, and how you'd look after them or know that something was wrong. Satisfied that I understood the theory and how the locomotive worked, the assessor took a step back and allowed me to start doing the prep as he went through on his sheet to make sure that I'd done everything correctly. And of course, with any other locomotive, this involved checking the engine to make sure that it had oil and that everything was okay in the engine bay, to going along and doing the oiling and making sure that the rods are correct. It also gave the opportunity to talk about how the assessor would like things done in the future and things that need to be checked and kept an eye on. It's also about making sure that you remember the little easy to forget things, like a pair of oilers that are underneath the rear steps. And with the assessor pleased on what I'd done on the outside, we could move into the inside to complete the prep, which would be nice because the rain was miserable. Inside the cab, the assessment continued, going through all the oil points and talking about the different grades of oil required for different uses, and of course explaining which oil pot fed what. And with the assessor satisfied, I was able to turn the key and power up.
You've said to me forever. Don't mind.
Having demonstrated the knowledge of how to cancel the low air alarm, as we waited for the air to charge, we talked through the various different controls and gauges, and the minimums and maximums that one would expect to see during a normal operation, and the limits of where one would be concerned. But before we could go anywhere, I had to go get this. This is the stuff. We must have this on board the locomotive with us in order to travel on the railway. There's only one of them, so it's a safety device. If you don't have this, you can't go anywhere. If you do have this, nobody else has it, therefore you're safe. I gave the diesel a few revs to get the air right up, and then communicated with the second man that we were ready to depart and to take the handbrake off. This was now the practical assessment, as I would drive and the assessor would watch to make sure that I was controlling the locomotive in a manner that they were happy with. And with the all clear on his side from the second man, we were free to move. So I blasted the horn and we set off gently into the rain. The first thing that I had to demonstrate was how to do a smooth gear change. And as the machine changed gear, we were all still on our feet and the locomotive hadn't lurched, and that was considered a pass. The assessor and I debated a couple of different techniques that could be used to achieve a smooth gear change, but decided that what I'd done was fine, and so we'd keep on doing that. As demonstrating my ability to operate the machine safely, I was also assessed on my route knowledge. That's to say that I knew where we were and any restrictions that applied to this bit of railway. There was also an amount of understanding how the particular ground frames work and how I would know it was safe to proceed, and the various restrictions and operational quirks of the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway. Having reached Dovebrook, I had to show how to do a controlled stop, remembering to put the brake on first and then knock it out of gear to maintain control of the engine. And once I demonstrate putting the machine into reverse, we were able to return up the line, showing a nice controlled start. Part of the aim of the assessment is to show that you can drive the machine smoothly, and as part of that, as we pulled away, I was required to do another gear change, the idea being that if we all stayed stood up, I probably hadn't done it too badly. And as we were all standing up as the machine changed gear, that was once again a pass. We spoke about keeping an eye on the oil pressure and noticing how it changed as the gears were changed. I knew at some point on this trip, as part of the reassessment, I'd be required to do an emergency stop. Which was that. And once we came back, I was asked to show my control of putting it onto a wagon. And having gently buffered up, I had to show the basics of coupling up and then go through how to dispose of the locomotive correctly, like draining the air tanks. And with that completed, the final stage of the reassessment was going through a question and answer session on the rules and regulations of the railway. I was asked a couple of questions from the rule books and asked to explain the correct operational procedure. And having passed the final bit of my reassessment, all I had to do was put a scribble on the paperwork. So now, after I've completed my assessment, it's come out nice again. So having gone through all of the prep, being watched in the rain, driving in the less than perfect weather, now I've finished it, it's come out lovely again. So that's fun, isn't it? But the result of this is I have passed. I know my rules, I know how to operate this thing, and I know how to operate here on the railway. And with my new assessment, that means that I'm good for another 3 years being the driver of this, which is really good because I actually really like being able to drive the 165. A shunt day here at the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway is a very pleasant thing indeed. And with that, well, that's basically the end of this video. I hope you've seen this insight into volunteering and what you might well expect as you come and join us here at the Mid-Suffolk or at any other railway in the country. It's an essential part of being able to be an active volunteer on the footplate. And with that, thanks for watching. If you want more information on the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway, then there is a link in the video description to their website so you can look at what we've got here and maybe look at getting involved. And of course, if you have enjoyed this video, how about clicking somewhere over there for the video, the first of Lawrie's Loco, where I reviewed this big thing here, or down there for the history of the Mid-Suffolk Light Railway. And with that, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Give us a like, subscribe, and I'm looking forward to my next turn on that.